So Trump just approved the Keystone XL pipeline. Yeah, let's go oil refinement. So this is basically a big fuck you to everyone who lives on the planet Earth and who cares about the planet Earth. And it's a big sloppy blowjob for all you oil refiners out there. I know there's a lot of big oil refiners in my audience. You guys are probably really happy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Keystone XL pipeline transports crude oil, aka oil that has not been refined for use in oil products. It transports crude oil from Canada because the United States buys a lot of its crude oil from Canada. Currently, it's transported by truck drivers who are happily employed transporting this oil. This would replace all those truck drivers and replace them with only 30 jobs, which would be maintaining the pipeline. So anyone who's lying about the Keystone XL pipeline creating jobs are doing just that. They are lying on behalf of these oil refining billionaires like the Koch brothers. So we're transporting this crude oil to the United States so that we can refine it and then send it through the pipeline to the Texas coast and export it multinationally. So none of this oil from Keystone is going to be sold in the United States. It will not reduce the price of gas. The only people this helps are oil refiners in the United States. Oil refiners are the richest people you can possibly be. If you refine oil, that, like, especially the Koch brothers, because they revolutionized a refining process that is extremely cheap. Well, their dad did it, but you see my point. These oil billionaire refiners in the United States are popping champagne. They're happy as hell today. The people who are unhappy, like I said earlier, are anyone who lives on the planet Earth, anyone who doesn't want, everyone in Florida especially, anyone who lives below 16 feet above sea level. Why 16 feet, Omar? Because, retard, that scientists have known for a while that the western ice shelf has been losing ice at a rate that is totally unnatural because of climate change. So the western Antarctic ice shelf makes up 10% of Antarctica's ice mass. And it's losing about 150 square kilometers of ice per day. Not per year, per day. So this shelf is shrinking and degrading. And scientists know that at a certain point, this shelf will no longer be able to exist. At a certain point of this ice shelf degenerating, it will completely disintegrate rapidly. And scientists believe we are approaching that point in about 200 years. And there's no reversing this, especially now that we're over 400 parts per million permanently. 400 parts per million carbon dioxide in the atmosphere since this September. September is supposed to be the time of the year with the least carbon dioxide in the air, and the carbon dioxide levels failed to drop below 400 parts per million. That means that it's never going to go below 400 parts per million again. The best case scenario, September, it did not. So the shelf will melt, and the sea level, Florida is gone. All these coastal areas in New York is halfway gone. So there's no reversing it anymore. There's no New York in 500 years. There's no any of that shit. We're past the point of no return. And all that Trump's doing with this approval of the Keystone XL pipeline is solidifying that. Because if we stopped all the fossil fuel production today, the western ice shelf would still probably melt. But this is making it so that it's a 100% chance that western ice shelf will melt. Because you can't just rip up all the pipelines immediately in one day. It takes decades to transfer from, it would take decades to transfer from an oil and multiple energy source economy to a renewable energy economy. So we'd have to rip up all these pipelines, divest from oil and natural gas and oil refinement. We'd have to divest from all of that. These investment plans that aren't set to return until 2030. So that means that we can't divest until 2030 already. And instead of starting the process, at least, of getting rid of these pipelines, divesting, we're investing more in building more, bigger than ever pipelines. So the planet's fucked. There's nothing we can do to change it. Trump is the death nail to that. And I'm not saying it wasn't going to happen anyways, but now there's zero fucking chance. And why would Trump do this? I'm going to cut to the chase and say it's because he got $100,000 from the Energy Transfer Partners CEO. Energy Transfer Partners being the company that is behind the Dakota Access Pipeline. So Trump's bought by these oil transporters and oil refiners. He wants to get Koch brother money. He's bought, so the planet's fucked. All these areas below 16 feet elevation are going to be underwater because when the Western Shelf melts, this is just one issue, the Western Shelf, just one. Not mentioning any of the crop failures, the uninhabitable areas caused by climate change. None of that is even mentioned. Just the Western Ice Shelf that I'm talking about. Because of this, we are now fucked with the Western Ice Shelf situation. The Western Ice Shelf will melt and sea levels will rise 11 to 16 feet. So that's the world we're living in. We need to start building levees, dams, and better infrastructure. Hopefully Trump isn't a liar and he'll actually invest in infrastructure because yes, we need to move to renewable energy to avoid making it worse. If there is a worse, because something I have not talked about is the methane that will be released from these ice shelves melting. Methane traps heat 100 times. It's not 100. It's some ridiculous amount of times more than CO2. So methane, way worse than CO2. And this is an irreversible process at this point. So yes, we need to move over to renewable energy, but we also need to invest in infrastructure to prepare ourselves for the coming disaster that's going to hit our species and the rest of the planet. Sorry, but that's the bad news. We're not getting rid of pipelines. We're building more pipelines. And now the Western Shelf's going to melt. Sea levels will rise 11 to 16 feet. So have a good day knowing that the future of humanity is fucked. Anyone who's like, well, not me specifically because I live in the mountains now, but my hometown is below sea level. So that's kind of fucked to think about that it's just going to be underwater. It's going to be populated by fish instead. That's awesome. If we don't overfish all the fish, Jesus Christ, the planet is fucked. But it's kind of like George Carlin said. The planet isn't fucked. It's the people that are fucked. We're going to be fucked. Planet's going to keep existing. So, yeah, that's what we're living with. Peace out.